Hello again, it's Barry James, and here for the next edition. We are in lockdown, so I'm in my office at home, as is Lee Birkett, who I'll introduce in a moment. And we're 2 weeks in, and some really crucial decisions have been made, and some things are happening, and some things that should be perhaps are not happening. That's what we're going to talk about just now. But first of all, welcome Lee Birkett, the founder and CEO of the JustUs P2P platform and of MoneyBrain. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, Barry. It's a very strange environment to be doing a video conference call. Normally it's it's a pleasure. I'd like to say it's a pleasure today, but we are living in a pretty devastating environment at the moment.
Yeah, and I know you've been keeping pretty busy, and I know I have because of the Fintech Taskforce. We'll come on to that in a minute or two. But before we do, when we talk about the situation we're in and how we fix some of the major problems we have in supporting businesses and keeping them alive, would you just, for people who are not familiar with you, your history over the last 10 years and more, just tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, and the P2P platform and MoneyBrain.
Of course. We ran a very large mortgage and insurance business that we floated on the stock exchange, and we had one of the first online IFAs called moneybrain.com, and we grew that business substantially. And unfortunately, with the last credit crunch, we were wiped out, basically, Barry. The situation was such that the economy was broken. I couldn't really see the situation changing much, so I designed a new way for finance to function, and that was crowdfunding and peer-to-peer. So we would never be reliant on those economic shocks ever again.
So this was rebuilding in the face of the first crash for a better future. How's that gone over the last 10 years? And just tell us how that's developed and where you are in terms of things like regulation.
Yeah, the regulation has been a tough journey, Barry. It's taken us nearly 7 years to get the legislative changes to allow us to operate as a peer-to-peer platform. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of lobbying from the banks to stop businesses like ourselves, because we're completely disintermediating 7 layers of red tape, commissions, all the rest of it, and putting people in touch with people. So we're able to provide better rates.
Competition, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we are a real threat to the banks, probably never more so than today. The reason being, it's very difficult to argue against a true democratic financial system that's fairer for people. You could probably refer to us as a digital union. That's really what JustUs is all about. It's bringing people together who need to borrow, together with people who are in a position to save and spare some of their cash. So we're a licensed ISA manager, so we've got credentials there. We're a licensed asset class now, so pension funds and IFAs can lend on the platform. But one of the conditions is none of the rinky-dink accounting methodologies of hedge funds and leverage finances can play on our platform. It's true, pure money going to the people who need it. It really is a better way for finance to function.
So it's grown, and I've watched this over the best part of 10 years, I think. I've watched all of that, and you go through all the diligence, all the regulatory processes, and that's now all in place. And we'll kind of talk about what that means in a few moments. But we're 2 weeks into the COVID response, and there's a number of strands of government support, but crucially for around 6 million businesses and self-employed is the support scheme, and the figures at the moment are less than 1,000 loans have been issued in that period. And just to give that scale, there are 10,500 bank branches across the UK. What's happening?
A number of things. The banking framework is not fit for this type of efficient distribution of capital. They're an archaic processes, paper-based, people-based. There's a new senior managers regime that the regulators put on the staff members that mean that if they approve a loan, they're responsible for the outcome of that loan. So at the moment, the existing framework is not fit for purpose for the distribution of that £350 billion. Yes, there will have been substantial multi-billion pound bailouts of major listed corporations, you know, and I respect that the government have to, you know, have the most impact from the time and allocation of resources that they can have, and that has to be unfortunately top down. So at this moment in time, they're probably dealing with, you know, a huge crisis of major listed entities that they're trying to fund to maintain, you know, the structure of the country can continue. And then the next level, which is the SMEs, there was an idea that they could distribute it through the British Business Bank, but that has clearly not happened. So 2 weeks in, nothing's actually changed from what was proposed. So, and in times of crisis, you know, we are in a financial and economic war. There need to be battlefield decisions made within hours, not months.
So we were the original timescale, I think, was 8 to 12 weeks for those decisions and the loans to be delivered, which in itself was problematic, wasn't it? I mean, we know that around half or maybe more of those 5-6 million businesses have a runway way less than that, weeks, not months. But as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, and anyway, would you paint the picture for us? Whereas fintech is built on digital from the ground up, the banks have difficulty in making these decisions, even if they weren't focused on the big deals and the big businesses right now. They have difficulty in, is it 6 layers they have to go through?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's crazy situation, Barry. We're a fast growth business with Barclays. We have regional director representation, so we're lucky enough to speak to those regional directors daily, and they're as frustrated as us. So I think it's the staff, it's the bank staff are getting it in the neck, and you know, this isn't a bank bashing activity here, and it has to come from top down. So within the last couple of hours, I've written to every MP in the country and every lord in the country to actually get behind this mission to try and get the money to the people who need it. I understand the methodology of deploying hundreds of billions of pounds through, you know, structurally important clearing banks and institutions, and they had to go down that route first. And we gave it a 2-week window before we'd say, right, you can't, it's obviously not going to come out through this channel. And we've been working with the task force and people that you've brought to the table to ensure that a digital solution can be delivered within days and not months, and delivered at scale for many hundreds of thousands of businesses and borrowers. Yeah, so what the picture we've got is that we've got the banks who are really not fit for this purpose. They can't do it, even if they want to do it. And we know the stories about profiteering and loading extra guarantees on, leaving all of that aside, fundamentally can't do it because they're not digital. And yeah, let's move on to the next, the point that you just made. So for listeners' benefit, I chair the British Blockchain and Frontier Technologies Association. Part of our COVID response is I've brought together key fintech firms that have together the capabilities to do this at scale and to deliver what's needed in the time scale that it is needed. So lending decisions very quickly and delivery of the funds just as quickly. Just outline that, would you, for viewers and listeners? Yeah, I mean, what's been great, Barry, is the digital rails of money movement are hugely successful. UK fintech is globally recognized. It's robust. It's scalable. Our platform runs on AWS, which is the Amazon software platform. So there is, we're not going to crash the system with millions of transactions. The Bank of England have opened up the ability for e-money businesses to deposit directly with the Bank of England. cutting the banks out. So we have a banking rail partner that will be live next week, so the bank accounts can do faster payments. MasterCard have been fantastic. They've got a coronavirus task force that have said we can go live within 24 hours with digital payment cards. So we can turn around a decision and provide a full banking and economic solution within no more than 48 hours. The current restrictions are about, they say to 1 million accounts a day, but if we work on, say, 500,000 accounts a day, that gives us enough capacity over the next 8 to 12 week runway to ensure that people who are struggling with their banks can get onto a new efficient banking rail, have a card to go and pay for their electricity and their gas and those urgent essentials and shopping, but more importantly, pay their suppliers. You know, people don't appreciate the trickle-down effects of stopping this money at the top is devastating. There are millions and millions of businesses today with nothing in the bank and owe people money as well. And so the country is coming to a standstill fast.
So just to clarify this, we're talking about being able to deliver 500,000 to 1 million new accounts. So you're not stuck in a queue at your own bank. You can come direct to fintech, as it were. An answer not within 8 to 12 weeks, and you don't know what the answer is going to be, but an answer within 24 to 48 hours, and the money following straight away. And what's the impact of that overall, Lee, in terms of businesses and people, as compared with the situation we're now in, where there's no real hope of that happening quickly?
Well, in my opinion, and very much we were hopeful that the CBIL scheme would start to deliver. We've got a team of people at the moment that we do not want to furlough. You know, a furlough, in my opinion, is a last resort. If there's a job to be done, the money should be flowing to allow that to happen. So we're a key worker. Financial services is key working. But if the actual financial services business can't access the capital, then, you know, the utility of money ceases to operate. And what we're trying to do, Barry, and we can do this, is we want to bring the financial industry together. Some who may not be on fintech can plug into fintech. And you brought the people together to enable us to do that. So as of today, we've agreed that if you are an FCA regulated individual with the accreditation to assess somebody's affordability and assess that you're doing the right thing by them, that they can bounce back after this crisis, you can participate in the scheme for all of your clients. And that also goes for chartered accountants and lawyers who are categorized as money service businesses. So we've spoken to the HMRC, Barry, as you know. I'm speaking to their innovation team. And as long as the individuals concerned are recorded with HMRC, there is no reason that we can't automatically issue a loan on an interest-free basis for a year with very fair terms then thereafter within 24, 48 hours to those people. Because I think we've worked on about 10,000 regulated individuals that would be able to plug into this scheme within a matter of weeks. And we've got the technology to send to their postcode areas all of those people that are in demand. So we can build up those financial advisory businesses so they've got a new client base. They can provide a much needed service at the moment. Unfortunately, the banks cannot.
Yeah. So the difference it could make is not just tens of thousands, but more than likely hundreds of thousands, if not over 1 million businesses that don't need to go to the wall.
Correct.
Will go to the wall if we carry on without this. What needs to happen, and what decisions need to be made, and who needs to make them? Why can't we just go do this? What are the decisions that need to be made? What needs to change, other than the sort of freezing out and cold shouldering from not all of the banks? And you've got tier one banking relationships, I know that, and this is going to be part of the picture. But what needs to change? What needs to happen to make this operative?
Well, it's in the hands of Treasury. There are two elements that need to change immediately. At the moment, self-employed sole traders do not have access to the loan scheme. We had an email last week saying, yes, we're changing it to allow sole traders, but we've not seen any evidence that that is the case. Certainly our banks at Barclays and people we spoke to said, oh no, we're still treating those as people and individuals and credit scoring them accordingly. So we need Treasury to provide publicly an exemption that sole traders can access the scheme. And secondly, that we have an exemption to the current peer-to-peer crowdfunding legislation that allows us to widen our span of the people that we can help. So we put into Treasury in January, the support of our MP, Esther McVeigh, a request to allow those self-employed people who are trapped mortgage prisoners. We have most of the permission to provide mortgages, to provide immediate relief. So your average mortgage is maybe paying £1,000 a month at the moment. We can immediately turn that into a £500 a month with the people's mortgage that we've all been working on. So that's an immediate relief for hundreds of thousands of people there. And in addition to that, providing them with a loan so their business and can bounce back. So it's down to Treasury. We've had phenomenal reaction from our stakeholders, such as MasterCard. You know, the regulator has been super supportive. You know, they're doing the very best in a really hard environment. So everybody has come together to provide a viable solution. It's now down to Treasury to sign that off. And I can only think that they are trying to find a solution because we haven't heard from the Chancellor for near on 2 weeks now. But because people's accounts are empty, we need to, you know, put the pedal to the metal now and get a solution, or at least give people a time frame of where one can be delivered to give them some comfort so they can not sack people, you know, make rash decisions, because we will get through this, Barry. It's, you know, this will come to an end and we will bounce back. But the decisions we make early on can have such a cataclysmic effect for the next 2-3 years, maybe even more. So we need that money flowing now.
Yeah, time is absolutely of the essence. And how ridiculous would it be for us to furlough the lifeboat when the ship's going down? How strange a decision would that be? Now, the other thing I should say is I want to thank Barry Shearman, the MP for Huddersfield, and my co-chair at the Westminster Forum for Frontier Technologies, who's been doing a great job. I know he's got this on the desk of the Chancellor. I'm sure he's got plenty of other stuff on his desk as well, but we need this to get through. Also, the Business Secretary and others. So it's not that we were without support, and notably Kevin Hollinrake MP is being very supportive, but we need these decisions to be made quickly, because if they're not, we've spelled out the consequences. So we know what the decision makers need to do. How can other people help us to get the message across and get this channel opened up, so that actually the help that government wants to provide to these people and businesses can flow through? What should people watching this or listening to this do?
I think this is probably no bigger illustration of the power of social media. You can make things happen within 24 hours, and policy decisions can be made within hours. So I think the best thing to do, and which is why we've put today a change.org petition, lobby your MP, copy them into an email, like what we're talking about and doing here. And I think as a crowd of which, you know, we're 65 million peoples here, you know, as long as we get support from the people's government, we can provide the people's loans and people's mortgages. And that digital investment has been made and is ready to go and scale tomorrow. So just give us the permissions and we'll crack on with it.
Now, a couple of things. As far as the social media is concerned, people should look for you, Lee Birkett, on LinkedIn. You've posted an open letter to the Prime Minister today. Go and like that, please, and get it also to your MP if you possibly can. Isn't there a petition as well, Lee?
Yeah, there's a petition, and I've put that up on the post from the open letter today. I don't know the full description of it, because we've had it, you know, the support network of the fintech community has been phenomenal, and I've got an inbox full of suggestions, and I'll be implementing them throughout the night. And I didn't even think about the change. We came up with a slogan, Time for Change, a couple of weeks ago, and I was unaware that there is actually a change.org petition platform that we've now plugged into. So thank you to people for the suggestions, and please keep them coming. Yeah,
so it's on change.org. We'll get the link associated with this broadcast. And finally, there's a new LinkedIn group specifically about this, and for small business owners and self-employed, we need to come together, we need to get the information flowing, and we need to get the support and mutual support flowing. So on LinkedIn, come and join the Small Business and Self-Employed Crisis Support Group. Lee will be there, we'll be there, we'll be pulling this together, and we'll get this, we'll get the Lifeboat launched.
Yeah, and it's it's in the dock, Barry, fully laden and ready to go.
Okay, so I know you've got a lot to do. I know I have to. Lee Birkett, thank you so much for all your work on this. Let's get it done. Let's get the Lifeboat launched. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. All the very best. Bye.
Bye for now.